Alright, so Saturday I did a video, and it was after I was done skating, and I was hoping to, like, get some of the dense energy out of my system, I guess. And I had this, I did a video, and I basically cried through a bunch of it, right? And I was talking about the frustration of knowing exactly what was going to happen with the dog, and then, getting put into the position where just because of who I am and refusing to not do things to help the dog for the dog's sake, my parents ended up getting their way as far as I'm taking on the responsibilities of the dog that I didn't want, right? So it definitely wasn't the full extent of the video. Like, there was more to it. Cried my way through a bunch of stuff. There was something that I started with talking about concerns with Taz and, like, a little spot that he's had for a while that needs to be checked out. And then just kind of catastrophizing things, right? And I had this moment after I did the video when I was still over at the school. It's like, do I want to post that one? And I honestly don't even remember if I watched it or not. I think I did, but I don't really remember. I know there's been a couple lately that I skipped over and just went ahead and posted, but I don't know that was one of them. But I had some thoughts about whether I was going to post it or not. And I felt like it's an important part of the process that needed to be shared, right? So most of my videos lately have been less pessimistic than when I started. I've had videos where I've actually felt happy and optimistic about future possibilities and all this stuff. So that one felt like it was kind of a step back, and in a way it was. But at the same time, it was still true to what was going on for me at that point in time, and I went ahead and posted it, right? Thinking that somewhere down the line, that might be something that, when I get to fulfilling more of my purpose and what I'm meant to be doing, and people want to try to assume that I've always had it easy or whatever, it's one of those things that people will be able to go back to and say, okay, well, if she did it, I can do it, kind of a thing, right? And it's honestly, I just figured, after the video got posted, I'll just try to crank some more out and kind of bury it, right? That has not happened. I have done videos, I think, all but one day since then, and it's now Friday, so I think this is now my 6th. Yeah. And every day when I go to I'll post the day's video, and then before I do that, I check the notifications to see if there's any comments or anything. Then I try to respond to those and whatnot. And it's like every day there's been a chunk. It's like, ooh, okay. Not just not all comments, and some of them are, like the thumbs up on my a comment that I posted on another creator's video or something, whether it's a tarot reading, a narcissism video, or whatever else. It's like if I comment on something else, then I'll get the notification that somebody liked it, right? Not always, but there's a bunch of those. Or if somebody responded to me. But there's been a bunch more comments. And it's like every time I look at what the comments are on, it's that same damn video. And it's like, okay. And some people have been supportive, and some people have kind of been kind of a, oh, get over it kind of a thing. And, I responded to one comment. Okay, I try to respond to comments as much as possible when I have something of use to say. There were 2 comments that came up that were pretty much, it wasn't the same comment, and there were 2 different people, but I responded to one, and it's like, you know what, this comment works well enough for the other one as well. And so I did go ahead and just copy and paste the response, because putting the energy into responding was so exhausting. It's like, oof, like because it was this point that there are good days and there are bad days, and just because, it's like, because that particular day was not a good day, it's like that's the one that everybody latched onto. It's like, what the fuck is going on? So I was really tired, like, just from putting forth the effort to respond to the one comment. It's like, fuck it, I'm just copy and pasting it. And I thought I should probably say, yes, I am just copy and pasting this comment, but I think I ended up neglecting doing that. But anyway, yesterday I had somebody else commented on it and was talking me down because, oh, that's, like, I don't even remember what they said. And it was just her energy in her comment just made me feel like she don't need to be here. Right? So I just went ahead and, hid the user from the channel or whatever. It's like, go away. We're not trying to have the icky energy just, latch on to further pull me down. But like, one of the big things that I have been noticing is that, there's been a lot of my videos, like the ones where I'm in a much better headspace and much more coherent and actually talk about things that are more fun or interesting on my thought processes. As like, a lot of those might get like, 10 to 20 views. That one, I forgot to check yesterday, but the day before, it was at 808. It's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Because of course I'm trying to get more videos so I can kind of make that one go away, but it does not work like, like friggin' Facebook or Instagram where you just post a bunch more and then, those are the more noticeable because they're the more recent. I mean, it's just this whole thing where that's where the attention keeps going, because apparently, because that was the one I called it catastrophizing, and there's some other stuff to that. But when I was thinking about it, it's like, I really feel like I was supposed to post that one. That's why I posted that one. And when I was feeling kind of like tired just from the amount of interaction with or engagement with that particular video, it's like, what the fuck? It's like, I may as well not have done the other stuff, right? But also, like, I've managed, I think I've gone up like 18 subscribers in that time too. So it's like, I know I was supposed to post that video as a means of, this is a part of the process. And even though I was in a much better headspace for much more time before that, that's the one that drew people in, right? It's like, and of course, because it's got more engagement, then, YouTube's kicking it out more to, keep up the engagement end of things, I guess, because apparently there's something in it that got more attention and therefore is keeping people on YouTube or whatever. It's like, man. But I feel like part of it is just because there was a lot more the low density type energy, which is a lot of what's going on in the world today anyway, right? So it's like there's all sorts of just, the density is something that we're trying to clear, right? So to return to that space, even though it's a natural part of the process, and healing is not linear. Healing is a spiral, right? So it's like you go round and around, and some days are good, some days are not so good, and it's like, I feel like that's a big part of it, is to open it up for the people who might be struggling with more of those similar issues, the denser issues and whatnot. But man, it's just like, okay, it's just doing its own thing and continuing to go, so whatever. And then like the other ones that I do, like, especially when I'm in a better mood, it seems like there's less interest in those. Like, people are like, because it's not the more dense energy, because I've, been cleared more of that out of my system, then people aren't as interested in that, because people tend to be more interested in, I guess, the level of what they can receive, right? So not everybody can hear you if you have cleared more of the density. So it's just a really weird thing to kind of experience. It's just kind of like, I didn't need that one to keep going like it is, but apparently the universe is saying, it's a necessary part of the process, and you absolutely were supposed to put it out there. And there are people that are, finding their way to your story because of that. And yeah, it might not be, definitely not glamorous. So like, that's the day. It's like, I don't care if I don't have makeup on in a video or anything, but it's like that day just felt especially blah. But I felt like I was supposed to post it, right? So I did. I don't know, it's just kind of weird to see what does or doesn't grab somebody's attention, and I don't know. I just don't know. I've been kind of wanting to talk about that for a little bit, though, or ever since I noticed the 808 the other day. It's like, fuck. Because that wasn't a great video. It was just, I thought it was, it felt necessary, because it's part of the process. And even if you got the 2 steps forward, you still have the days where you get the 1 step backwards, right? So it's still important to share that and to help people to realize that, I guess, but for that to be the one people latch onto. Okay, whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of I don't know where my little heathen sidekick went. Today, she figured out the dog door. She has not been able to do it previously. Yesterday, I did send her through it once, but she's still, she would otherwise just stand there on the other side of the door and just wait on me. And I think it's probably because Piper figured it out, and Piper figured it out because I pushed her through and pulled her through multiple times to help her get the idea of it. And then it was more motivating for her, I think, when I was walking Daisy back over to her house, like the night before last is when I started that. So, I had her over there for several hours and then decided to bring her back home to put her to bed. And when I was walking across the yard, all the dogs went out, right? And then, I don't think Piper got it that day. I think Piper figured it out yesterday. I won't swear to that, because honestly, my days run together now. I don't know what's what. But yeah. But like, at one point, I think it was yesterday morning that she went out there. I think Tuesday night? The fuck day is it? It's Friday, I said that. Tuesday's when they left. Tuesday night, I think I had left her outside when I went to take Daisy back, because I knew she'd be out there and wanting to bark with the others when they came running out, right? So she was just outside. Well, then yesterday morning when I was coming back over here to get Daisy, then they all ended up outside, and then, she'd figured it out at that point, and she was standing there barking with the rest of them. It's like, okay then. And then when I got back in the house, there she was again. So it's like, okay, cool. So she's figured it out now. She still will get herself hung up. So I feel like even she is an interesting sort of teacher on everything that's going on, because, like, she's this perfect demonstration of that 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because, it's like, I've seen her warm up to different things since she's been there, because, when she first got there, she was afraid of her own ass, and, like, it just, it just was very skittish, wouldn't do anything. She's kind of warming up to the idea of wanting to be petted, but, like, she watches the other dogs when they come over to me, and, they're rubbing up against my leg and just wanting me to pet them, and it's like she just keeps watching, like she's interested, but she doesn't know how to do that. But then once she starts doing something else, like, when she started playing with the chuck-it stick when I was throwing the ball for Gidge, she got to the point where she started to jump up and down anytime I was moving the stick around. And it's like she did that for a few days, and then it's like there was a day where it was like that step back, and then like she didn't do anything that she had done. And I think it was actually on the door. She started walking past me when I was holding the door, and then it's like, then there were a few days where she wouldn't go past me again, and then like she'd run away and run to the other side of the porch. So it's like, all right. So I can't really get pissed at it, because I completely understand what's going on here. And especially like with my whole journey and my process on my whole healing endeavor. Because like I completely get that step back, and some days you just have to take a step back, because it's basically the realization that you expanded beyond what you thought you were capable of, like, right? Like with my whole YouTube thing, I did the videos in November and the first half of December 2023 when I first started. It's like starting the channel was me expanding far beyond what I thought I was capable of doing. So then when I actually started to even enjoy it, then it was like, well, what's that mean? That's a whole new level of being. And then I had to take some time off. And then, I talked about when I first, when I decided I had to take a break from it, I ended up deleting all the videos that I had, because I was afraid of them staying in existence while I wasn't doing anything with the channel, because I couldn't bury them, right? Even though that's obviously kind of an irrelevant thing, because the certain ones are the ones that get attention, right? But like, even then, like, I remember, I'd tag like Gem Goddess because I was talking about something with the black dogs, right? I've told that story many times, where in 2020 I watched a tarot reading that she did, and at one point she pulled this card. It was a tea leaf card, and it was a black dog, and she said, "Black dogs are important and mean it's about time." And I was like, obviously that's for me. So it's like, because, this is the only time in my life I've ever had black dogs, and I have 3 that are primarily black. So, and now, like, we've expanded beyond that even, because we got the little shadow puff, which is also black and white. So yeah. But, like, I held on to that idea, and then it's like, what does that even mean? And then, like, there's the twin flame stuff that came up, and then, the things that have been circling back around over and over again. I think that's my grandma's annoyance sealer. Anyway, I have a sidekick. Drawing a blank now. Oh, the black dogs. Right. So, when she said the thing in the video, it stayed with me, right? And I kept that always in my head. And then, I took the break from doing the YouTube videos, and when I went or started going to the classes at Inner Path, and like the first couple of weeks, we're talking about the stuff that was completely irrelevant to that, right? So the one lady, Lanita, that class was about developing your psychic gifts and whatnot. And she said the first thing she does with new students is to check in with their guides and figure out what they need help with, right? What they need to work more on. And she said, she kind of took a couple minutes and was writing things down. And she said the biggest thing I needed to work on was boundaries and shielding and protecting my energy, right? So like the first thing we did was start talking about things that were relevant for helping with that, like the pretty rocks and all that stuff, right? So, I started with oddly, I had gotten this when I was working at Amazon, and I worked at Amazon from 2019 to 2020. And I wore that one a few times while I was there. And then I watched something else that was talking about, but if you're protecting your boundaries and if that's the biggest focus, is that, are you blocking out the good stuff also? And it's like, so I stopped doing it. It's like, well, crap. Then after that, after I stopped wearing it, then I had the reading with the friend that I talked about yesterday that I've recently reconnected with. And she was talking about making a focused effort on clearing my energy and making sure to, she said I needed to sage myself periodically. And I said, I can't use like sage with smoke and all that stuff because I have birds that are really sensitive to, they have really sensitive respiratory systems. So she said, well, they make it in sprays. It's like, okay. So, I started using the spray on occasion, and like always when I would go to work. And so it was like start to help on that end. And I think even when I was using the obsidian, I think I would still use that stuff. But then last year, I start going to these classes, and then we're talking about other ways to do that. And it's just kind of like a weird, because I'll watch the tarot readings or whatever, and somebody will say something about like a different type of rock, and maybe that's something that you need to look into. Maybe that's something that it will be helpful, right? So that's largely why I have gotten into a bunch of like the different rocks that I have and everything, but especially after Lanita said flat out that I needed to prioritize boundaries and shielding and protecting my energy. So we were talking about the rocks, all the different rocks, and like I have a pocket full of rocks that are mainly the ones for grounding and protection at this point. There are a few odds and ends thrown in otherwise. Like I know there's blue onyx, green onyx, aquamarine, because that was on a necklace and then it broke, and it's like, so I put it in the bag too. But I don't remember what else is in there, because the bag I got now I can't see through because the others kept breaking real quick. This one it's not going to last forever. I have one that probably would last a lot longer, but it's huge, and I don't really need as many rocks in my pocket as that one holds, even though I did do that for a while. I don't know. Anyway, but then, when she was talking about you can also do this through color, then she said that black, brown, and red are associated with the root chakra, and so that's like those are protective stones. I was like, all right, or protective colors. So then I was thinking back to the black dog thing with Gem Goddess, where she's talking about black dogs are important and mean it's about time. And then I'm thinking about what Anita's saying about, black is a protective color. And then it's like, so that means that at a time I didn't even know I needed to be working on protecting my energy or anything like that. I end up with these dogs in my life that are all basically serving that purpose with me or for me, right? So, like when I first married my ex in 2012, we got married at the end of November and then got Ziva in April because I'm dog people. I need dogs in my life, right? And he had a Kelpie before, and he was dead set on getting a Kelpie, and my big thing was, okay, rescue, so I started looking on Pet Finder, and I found a couple that were at this rescue in Tennessee. So we went there, and we ended up with Ziva because she was just the perfect looking little dog. She's got like the perfect symmetry on all her markings and all this stuff. So he was like, this is the perfect one. So, she's the one we ended up with. I think her sister didn't have the same amount of white or anything on her. Like she wasn't symmetrical, basically. her colors didn't match on both sides and all that stuff. And so that was why we got Ziva. But still, the first of the black dogs that, come into my life, right? And it's like shortly after my ex and I had gotten married, and it was like in the time frame of, I've talked about like within the first 3 months of us being together, I got to a point where I didn't even want to change my shirt around him because he was being such a dick, and just like the judgy looks and everything. It's like, go away. It's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so we end up with Ziva, right? And he had every intention of making that dog his, except for he doesn't give a shit enough about anything but himself, so she just automatically was mine because I'm dog people. And, I held her the entire way back home from picking her up at the rescue, and then, I was the one working on training. I was the one, worried about the feeding and the watering and, making sure she got outside and all that stuff, making sure she got socialized with the Shelties at my parents' house and all that stuff, because when we got her, they had 3 Shelties, including Chance, which was mine. He was my baby that we got with my senior year in high school. And interestingly enough, that dog's back was almost completely black, like on the top. He was still sable colored, but he had a lot more black than any of the others had. So it was like it was even starting back then, but I didn't know that was a thing, right? So yeah, then Ziva, ends up being this, and she's the reason I fell and got my TBI, and I'm pretty sure she got some damage in that process too, but, she got really super protective of me, especially after that, because I was not in a good headspace. And, my ex had this thing he would do where, like, he liked to pretend he was going to hit me, right? So he did this kind of thing and stop just like inches from my face, and like she would be like snarling at him every single time. And I knew he was full of shit and not going to do anything because that would make him look bad if I suddenly had a bruise on my face. But it's still that sort of chipping away at my sense of value, really. Because why the fuck would I marry somebody that ended up doing that shit? Yeah. But, she was super protective of me, even back then. And always has been, right? So when I was bringing her over to my parents' house all the time, okay, the pack that we had back then with the 3 Shelties and the Rat Terrier, they got her trained It's like, she's the easiest dog I've ever had to housebreak, right? So, and all that was taking her over there to socialize with them, and it was a really chill pack, and they're like, all right, you got this new kid around. They showed her how to use the dog door, and, taught her that's where the business was done, on the outside. And, after that, okay, so when I first met my ex, he had this bell that was on the front door. And I think it had been like I think it was on like a pink string or something. So it seemed more like an Easter decoration than a Halloween or than a Christmas decoration. But it had been on the front door. And when we got to the house we lived in together, there was a brief span of time that we had like 3 months that we lived with my parents, and then found a rental house that we signed the lease on in March 2013. It was like Easter weekend, I think. And yeah, because that was the day I lost my job. So there was like a whole bunch of weird shit. The negative synchronicities kicked in that day, right? But yeah, I was taking her. So we signed the lease on the apartment, or on the house. And then like 3 weeks later, we got Ziva. And then, I was taking her over to socialize with my parents back. So, okay, the bell. The bell had been on the door of his apartment. He had like a apartment that two other people lived in, or two other groups, I guess. And when we were helping him pack up, the ridiculous thing was he hadn't done shit for packing. So it's like he knew this move was coming, but he wanted other people to do it for him, right? So it's just like, yeah. So it was a big stupid ordeal. But anyway, the bell ended up on the back door because I did not want him to be able to come in the house without me knowing it if I was there. Right? So none of that sneaking up on me bullshit kind of a thing. So I had the bell on the door. Well, when I was taking Ziva over to my parents' house all the time, and their dog, or the Sheltie pack, I can't say just theirs because they were mine too, but they taught her the fine art of going out the dog door to do your business in the backyard. So she started, since she knew that, she started using the bell as a way to get my attention when she had to go outside. It's like, huh, cool. So like she just figured it out on her own, and it just worked for us. So yeah, I was like, my reasoning for it was so my ex wouldn't be able to sneak into the house when I was unaware of it. And, then Ziva used it as this thing of, hey, I have to go outside. So it worked. But yeah, okay, going back to the protecting things. Well, so, of course, when Lanita is talking about how black and brown are colors that can help with this, I just now thought about the brown part of it, because with Ziva, because she's got, a whole lot of black and brown. Like the colors, it was like, oh, so even back then, it's like the universe was lining me up with the things I needed to protect me from my ex. When I didn't know that I needed the extra help on that end, right? And then, so it seemed more like a more distant thought when I was thinking about it at that level. And then the next week, I went to Annie's class, and we were talking about, colors and what they mean. And she said, or somebody asked about black, and she said she always associates black with source because everything comes out of the void. I was like, huh, so now you're saying this, and now I'm thinking, when I couldn't protect myself, God presents me with these, black dogs that are essentially doing the same thing. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And going back to black dogs are important and mean it's about time. That's like, huh. So it like takes on this whole new level. And you know, that stuff has stuck with me, obviously, because you know, I realize that, yeah, even now I still have the same dogs, but we have an extra one added in, you know, but now I'm realizing that some of the shit that I need protection from on the energetic level is my parents, right? So, and their toxic, leechy energy, um, you know, but I still have my dogs there. And I've been kind of having this weird sort of, I've been in this weird space. It's like I've been talking about the possibility of moving out to Oklahoma with my brother and his family for a while to get out of here sooner, you know, and the different things that I can work on in that space. And the thing that is really there's been a couple times that I've kind of gone back and forth on it of is that what I need to do or should I hold out for this other thing? And it's like, nope, I think this is where I'm at right now. I feel like this is definitely the next step as far as getting out there, you know, and before this month is up, because I said August would be the last full month that I was there. um, you know, even as I've been moving stuff to the storage unit and packing it up and whatnot, it's like I feel myself, it's like I'm already in that space at some level energetically. And like I'm, you know, I can imagine, you know, how I'm going to put my stuff, what of my stuff I would actually need in that space, because obviously it's a much, much less space than I would have currently, right? Or than I do have currently, because it would be a room. And you know, I'll get a storage unit out there as well, so I can have some of my stuff that I don't need all the time, where I can still get to it if I need it, but not as urgently or whatever. Um, I don't know. It's just kind of weird because it's like I can see myself in that space and actually be like looking around the room and considering the things or the space in the room. So, okay, like where I put my bed. Um, if I would even bother putting a TV in there or anything, which I don't know, honestly. Um, but then, you know, like I have some plants that I would like to keep alive. You know, my dogs, they got to go with me, which I think the bigger thing on that end is if I go somewhere, rather than locking them in a crate, they would probably just be locked in my room. Um, but yeah, you know, we'll have to figure out those details, and it'll depend on how much everybody gets along. Because right now, Taz has not been in the immediate space as Buttercup in India, the hound and the doodle. Um, so yeah, so like that one would need work, but still the possibility, right? But then, you know, like even I don't know, I'm just kind of like turning things around in my head, and it's like, okay, so like the furniture, like obviously I need something for my clothes. The closet is very generous, so like the closet space, but then, you know, how am I going to put things in there and have space for the stuff that I do want with me and all that stuff, right? You know, and I talked about possibly rehoming the birds to make that move easier. Oh, but I'm not sure I want to do that. So I'm kind of torn on the birds, honestly. You know, so if the birds go with me, then, you know, they got to be somewhere close to the window. Um, so it's just like all these different things, but it's like I can see myself in the space and like considering possibilities and like different ways of doing things. Like obviously I won't be able to have my desk in there, and I won't want all of my furniture in there because it's not as big as I think it's. That room is probably the size of my office, but you know, like the window is It has like this little inlet thing, I guess. You know, like it's like it's its own little spot, but it goes back. So like, okay, so like where the bed would be, it would probably have a little bit of an overhang going to the this little inlet with the window. I don't know. It's like just kind of turning things around in my head, but it's still like I'm able to visualize being in that space, and it feels like, because I'm lining up with that timeline where I end up there, right? Or I'm on the path where I line up with what I need to get there. So yeah, I don't know. Another kind of weird thing that's happened recently, especially with like some of the shifting that's going on with the crap with my parents. It's like one thing that I've really noticed is, you know, I did I had the twin flame thing that I was listening to the other day, and I talked about how I woke up and I was just livid because of the shit that was going on with my mom, breaking her back and all that crap. But like the biggest thing is, what I've kind of noticed since then is like I feel like I'm more focused on me and what I need to do to get to the next space. That like the whole twin flame thing doesn't even seem like it's not a priority thought anymore. It's just kind of, I mean, it's still the reason that I've been motivated to do a lot of the healing that I've done and everything, but it's just kind of this, it's, back burner kind of idea. It's not something that's at the forefront of my thoughts as much. Which, interestingly, I just watched a thing before I came over here to my aunt's house that was talking about the sort of final detachment of the feminine and, focusing on herself rather than anything with the connection. It's like, I feel like that's where I'm at. And it's like the video came out like June 30th, I think was the date on it. But it's like it came across my path today when I was already thinking about this. It's like, it's just where we're at, I guess. But kind of a different spot to be at, I guess. But yeah, it's just, what do I want? With my life? What do I want to do moving forward? And solidifying, I guess, the potential to end up out in Oklahoma with the other family, the family, that's basically dead to this family out here because they moved away. In my parents' significant time of need. Like I said yesterday, they're a product of their own decisions, so they made the decisions that have got them into the situations that they are in now. That's on them. So I can sympathize with the fact that, yeah, it must suck having a broken bone in your back. Absolutely. Or, the strokes. But at the same time, you still made the decisions that got you in that situation. So, and I'm not going to feel bad because you did the thing. I'm not going to feel like I need to bend over backwards to cater to your bullshit because that's what you've always been trying to force me to do, right? Going back to the deal with the dog. It's like that one using my own good nature against me because they wanted something else for me to have to do for them. So they got a dog because I would not say no to the dog while it's there in my space as far as making sure its needs are met. It's like the dog is innocent. The dog can't help that the people that it got brought to didn't have any business getting another dog anyway because they're in shitty health and they don't take care of themselves. So what are they going to do for a dog? So yeah. But anyway, the big focus is, I don't know, it's just weird seeing myself actually in that space and trying to, I think a big part of it is figuring out how to pack, because obviously there are some things I'm going to want, But then there are other things that it's like I might want access to them. Like, okay, far less winter clothes, I think, out there. And it gets way hotter in the summer. But how long am I going to be there? Don't know that part yet, So, here's another weird little parallel that I was thinking about earlier. When we first moved into the house my parents are in now, and then I'm also in now, I guess. When we first moved in there, I was 4. And there was... I don't know. Okay, so I was 4, so how old would my aunt have been? The aunt that was 15 when I was born, so she would have been 19, right? So there was a span of time that she lived with us, and because it's a 3-bedroom house, my brother had 1 bedroom, I had a bedroom, and then my parents had the other bedroom. She ended up having a mattress in my room. So it's like she lived with us, and we shared a room for a while. It wasn't a real long time. The biggest thing I remember about it, I think it was for her to finish out school, her senior year, and then after she graduated, she moved out to Oklahoma with my grandparents. But the biggest thing that I remember on that is I was 4. I was afraid of the house, right? Like, it freaked me out to. I've talked about this several times too, I think. It used to freak me out to go from my bedroom to the bathroom, which was like almost right across the hall. Like, it's diagonally across, so it's like probably not even like 5 feet worth of steps, or like maybe 5 feet worth of steps, kind of a thing. But like when I was little, I've talked about seeing things, always being open to that. Like, I always saw this shadowy figure that was walking this path, and it was always going from the kitchen, like, through the living room. And it was just like, it was the same straight path. So it was like it's just walking through the walls or whatever. But it freaked me the hell out. So since I always saw this thing and it freaked me out, there was one day I really had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I think I just got in bed with my aunt. I remember her looking at me and saying, "Did you pee?" That was, honestly, I was 4. That's like all I remember from that time frame anyway. But I do remember that. So, luckily I'm pretty confident I don't have to worry about Gracie peeing on me, even if she were to show up in my room. But we would have rooms across the hall from each other, and we would share a bathroom. So it's like, it's still just the different things at that level, thinking through those kind of things. It's like, okay, so obviously I don't want a whole bunch of stuff that my niece is going to try to go through while I'm over there or whatever. And yeah, so but anyway, just kind of my thoughts of the day, I guess. It's just kind of funny how everything keeps circling back around, like even at the family level. It's like my grandparents, they lived in this town, in the house next door to this one, since 1960. And then when I was 6 weeks old, they got transferred with their job out to Oklahoma. So they lived in Oklahoma until I was 8. And after my great-grandfather died, they moved back here into the same house, because I guess they just rented it out while they were gone. And yeah, so they moved back here when I was 8. My aunt and uncle. Okay, so both of my aunts had moved out there and went to college out in Oklahoma. And the younger aunt came back I don't know. She might have come back with my grandparents when they moved back. Because I know she lived over there with them for a while too. But the other aunt and uncle, the ones that live in this house, they stayed in Oklahoma for a little while. It's like they had a little bit of a life without the family ass deep in the middle of everything. So, like, my aunt and I were talking the other day, and she was talking about something with my grandparents that my mom and the other sister were kind of astounded that she didn't remember. And then she said something about when she was in Oklahoma and, you know, when she worked at Sonic, and they were like, "You worked at Sonic? I didn't know that." So it's like they had lives aside from each other, right? Um, so yeah. You know, but then they moved back here. And actually, something else that came up recently, I was watching or looking at something on Instagram. I think that it's the Blackhomeeducators page or something like that. She was talking about watching something on the Oklahoma City bombing. And that's kind of a relevant thing for our family because the cousin whose room this was, she lives like 45 minutes away now. But she was born in Oklahoma. And they were supposed to go do something, I don't know if for the birth certificate or whatever, the day that the Oklahoma City bombing happened. They were supposed to be in that building, and for some reason their plans got canceled and they weren't able to go do what they were supposed to be doing. But it's like they would have been there that day, I think, in the area specifically that it happened in. So it's like it's a little divine intervention bit, right? So yeah, but that was just something else that came up recently too. That, but it's just weird how like things kind of seem to cycle back around because you know my brother and sister-in-law lived in Oklahoma for a while and then they moved out here and now they're back in Oklahoma. So it's just like yeah, okay. Definitely not somewhere I ever would have expected myself to end up. Although, okay, so like I'll be watching like some of the tarot videos and whatnot, and you know they'll be saying something about the path, and you know sometimes the steps on the path, like I don't even remember what it was specifically. No, I mean it might have been something we talked about in the class at Inner Path even, but something that we were talking about. It's like there was a comment made about you might end up somewhere completely different from where you feel like you're meant to go, but it's a step on the path and you're also supposed to go there too. And it's like, and I do feel like there was this sort of thought in the very back of my mind that it wasn't fully tangible to me because I wasn't in a space to receive it that was talking about the possibility of that. But then now that, all hell's breaking loose with my parents and, I'm kind of just over everything and, my brother knows what he does of the family and that toxic dynamic as well. It's like, now it just feels like that's the thing that's going to happen that, and, like I said, I've been back and forth on it a few times. It's like, I feel like, at some point, like the Philadelphia thing is still something that'll come about, but I feel like there are probably other steps before I get to that point. But it's like it's like there's always just been these like little glimpses of additional things that are probably also on the path, but before I was ready to receive them as being things on the path, like, I mean, without my brother and sister-in-law having a house out there, and I've seen it and helped them move it into it, and it was really nice, but it's like without that whole experience, that wasn't even a thought. But then once I was able to see myself in that space and actually be in that space briefly, then it's like it's part of a timeline I hadn't fully connected to. But now I'm very likely shifting in that direction because it's the one that gets me out of this town sooner. Um, it still remains to be the car issue and all that. I'll figure it out. I don't know how, but that goes back to that whole thing of just trusting and not, trust the process, and I don't have to be in control. I don't have to know shit about anything. I just have to follow my intuition when I feel like I'm supposed to do anything, right? So like getting the storage unit back in May, and then as I've been moving things out there, and then I started realizing that, hey, I can sell things from this space, because if it's not in the space at my parents' house where my mom can walk through and see it and know that I'm trying to sell it, she's less likely to try to get engaged with what's happening. And, well, if you don't want it, I'll take it. It's like, I'm trying to get money out of stuff and you're just trying to get in my way. Or just try to hang on to it because I might need it again sometime or whatever else. It's like, I need the space right now. I need the money right now. So I don't want you just taking the things that I could get money out of. So yeah, it's like there's this table that my brother and sister-in-law said I could have, and they said I could sell it if I wanted or just have it, right? So I had the storage unit, so it went to the storage unit. Same place the bed went when I still had the other one, when I had to figure out what I was doing on that end. And I've posted it and I've had some interest in it. Like there were a couple people that asked me about it, and like the most recent one that was the most interested in it, it wasn't wide enough for what he wanted, I guess. But the other table that I had, that was this little glass top patio table, was better suited for what they wanted, so they bought that one instead. So I still have the other table, which I really like it, and I wouldn't mind keeping it, but at the same time, if it get me $30, then by all means. Because I have a couple things that were due today that I completely forgot all about being due today. I thought I had another week. So yeah, I did go ahead and post the other things I had yesterday. I had like 5 things at the storage unit that I went ahead and took pictures of. It's like, all right, I'm just posting them. We're going to try to get rid of this shit. And if it doesn't happen, then they'll go with me. So however that works out. But yeah, it's like the fact that I followed my intuition on getting the storage unit and starting to move things out of my parents' space, so I could see what I actually have versus their stuff coming in and like ending up intertwined with all of my shit, right? So like currently the issue we're having in the in that space, they had shit all, like, not actual shit. After yesterday's story, not actual shit, but they had, like clothes and things all over their floor, and, it's like they have 2 dressers, or a dresser and a chest of drawers in there. They kept the chest of drawers that my brother was going to trash because it was matched what they had in their room still, because they bought it all as a set and he needed a chest of drawers, so it went to him back then, and he's had it for forever. But it needs some things fixed on it, right? And they had somebody come out to look at fixing it, and they had the wrong pieces for it, so they sent those back and ordered the other ones. Had to order them online. But the problem was, since the guy was going to be in their room, they wanted everything off of the floor and out of the room, right? And it all made it to the family room, or the living room. That's the room that I was cleaning some because that's where my stuff is. Now it is completely consumed with their shit that was in their bedroom. My dad was just tripping over or whatever, and like all that dumb stuff. But now that my mom broke her back, she's not going to be putting it back in there anytime soon. And my dad's useless on helping with anything anyway. So, I was thinking last night, I'm going to go ahead and pack up the dog crates and take them over there. and have them out of the way because they're not getting used. And now it's not just my stuff that's on top of them. I'll have to figure out something else with my skating stuff because I won't be able to put that out on top of them. Maybe I'll keep one dog in there, or dog cage in there, and move it to the other side of the room just so so I can put my skate stuff somewhere to dry. But it's like, just walking through there, it's like, this is the room I was cleaning. And now I can't do that because now it's all their shit, and their shit wanting my attention and wanting me to have to be forced to deal with it, and I'm not interested. But yeah, now I need to get my shit out of there even sooner. Which some of it's like plastic containers for storage stuff and whatnot, so that'll be on the priority, I guess. I don't know. This is so annoying. Just being able to look at it and be like, used to have stuff in here and now you can't. Like, now the dogs are tripping over everything. I don't know why they ended up putting stuff on the love seat in front of the window, but they did. And now, like, that was like a big spot that the dogs hung out at, right? And Gidget likes sitting on the back of it because she can see out the window. She can be right in the window, right? So if mom's home, then she can see me when I'm in the driveway, and let everybody know what's happening. So, now they've conveniently made it so that can't happen near as easy, or, the dogs are tripping over everything trying to go through there because they want to see out the window, but also they want to be able to run to the garage door when they know somebody's coming in. It's just a big pain in the ass. But I have a storage unit, so I'm going to be moving more stuff to it. And I think right now, the biggest thing is I feel pretty confident that I won't need it past this month. Excuse me. But, I talked about yesterday, like, the big thing is I feel like it's time to pack for real now, right? So there's still, I guess, got a bunch of clothes that I'm probably not going to want to pack up until I know I'm done with them. But there are other things that I know I can go ahead and pack up because I don't care about right now, right? So how much can I thin out? And I was over at the storage unit yesterday and tried to reconfigure some things a little bit so I could get the bookcase in there. I need to get that damn box springs out of there, so hopefully that happens. Hopefully that girl comes ask me about it tomorrow because she said she wanted it. She just couldn't get it before Saturday. So hopefully that happens. But like that, once that's out of there, that'll help immensely. I have my bike posted for sale for like $20 because it needs new tires. I think they probably rotted, but like other than that, it's like really good shape. There's a random piece of duct tape that I think was just on a cord that had come loose, but it's been there since, God, I think I was in undergrad, and I didn't even take it to undergrad with me because I was afraid of locking it up anywhere and, somebody stealing my stuff. So I just didn't mess with it. But I had a bike lock and a chain for it, but never used it. I think I actually had it in a storage unit there was a closet in the downstairs. The basement was fully furnished. The house I lived in my junior year off campus. There were 6 of us that lived there. And the basement was fully furnished, but it did have some issues with moisture. But there was this closet that wasn't, it had like concrete. It was just a closet. So I think a couple of us had bikes in there, and that was where mine was for a little while. Could be part of the reason that the wheels are jacked up. I don't know though, because like the biggest time that I used my bike was when I was with the guy that I thought I was going to marry, and then like we went camping and took bikes and went on a trail ride at some point. I was like, it was good for then. I think that's really the biggest time I've ever used that bike. I mean, camping trips. When I think I got it I wanted to say I was 15 or 16 when I got it. But I won't swear to that. It was like camping and then the possibility of undergrad and then camping again with the 1X, and then I did take it again camping with the most recent X. Although the time we went camping to like East Tennessee, I think, and he had his kid with us, and we had this kid with us, and he had training wheels on his bike, and he was wanting to learn to not use them or to be able to use it without the training wheels on there, but he wasn't confident about it at all. And we went in this one area, there was a hill, and it kind of wrapped around, and then you go back up the hill, and I was behind him, so I could keep an eye on him and everything. And as he was skating, because he was skating hard, I watched one of his training wheels fall off, and it's like, I'm not saying anything because right now he's doing really good and I think he could handle it. And he got all the way around that thing, and I stopped to pick up the training wheel and then continued on. I think his dad had already gone around and was up at the top part waiting on us to get back through there. But when I went around, I was like, dude, I said, check your wheels. And he looked down and realized he didn't have the one on, and he got all sorts of excited. So that was a big part of him learning to ride his bike without wheels, was it just fell off when we were going down this hill. And I was like, I'm not saying anything because I don't want to freak him out, and I want him to continue doing that. And he did it and handled it just fine. So, yeah. Anyway, I think I'm going to go leave this little corgi heathen over at her house and go walk my dogs, just because she's joined us before, but I've talked about it before. Like, the problem with her joining us on the walk is her mom lets her do what she wants, and she's got this leash that my aunt can basically have tied around her waist, and so the dog can't go anywhere. But it's like, the dog does not need to be that much in front of you all the time. And I've tried to get her to not, just because she has the thing so the dog can't go anywhere. It's like, it's not a problem that you have this leash, but you can still utilize it so the dog stays back with you and isn't trying to pull you everywhere all the time. And I guess the biggest thing when I walk her over to our house and back, it's like, it's got the thing that goes around your waist, but it also has like a little loop closer to the dog. And like, I'll just put one finger in that so she can't like keep pulling in front of me and like keep her right at my side. She's starting to figure out that I'm not going to let her pull like my aunt does. But until she has that handled, I'm not taking her with all the other dogs by myself and having her help encourage the rest of them to be pains in my ass. That doesn't sound exciting at all. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to leave her here and go do that, and then come back and get her later. She was there when I was packing up my books yesterday in my bookcase, and she was fine. She did not try to bolt out the door or anything. These bangs. I've decided that I'm going to try to grow them out and start all over, because I kind of like bangs. It turns out not a huge amount of them, and again, since this chunk over here like is broken more than it needs to. Okay, right after I take a shower, the bangs are great, and I don't like washing my hair a bunch of times with the bright colors because it washes them out faster, right? So I'm kind of like, if I skate or just need a shower in general otherwise and I'm not washing my hair, then I will pin my bangs back with a headband, and without fail I end up with this weird thing happening. These ones can just be pinned back, but it's like, what the fuck is going on? And of course, when I wash my face before bed, I have have them pinned back again. But it's like it's really bad when I have them pinned back in the shower, because then it's like the moisture encourages them to do stupid things, and then they're like never good again until I wash them the next time. And if I wash them and have good bangs and don't do a video until after I've, taken another shower and got them all jacked up again, then they're just fucked up for all the videos going forward. It's like, great, cool. So I decided, growing them out, and I will start all over. And I think I need to add some more color, because what's going on right there, man? Don't know if I have any more of that particular color, but I got others that'll work. So excuse me. Anyway, go ahead and wrap this up so I can go ahead and do other things and get back to packing and all that fun stuff. So as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.